The A3 late night party, it continues, y'all. Second half action, the U.S. tied 1-1 with Japan. We got changes from Emma Hayes. Later, she goes on and says that it was because these players looked a little tired, so she took them out. Jenna Nightswanger came in for Crystal Dunn, and Jaden Shaw came in for Ali Sentnor. We did see full subs being used by Emma Hayes, but Christine, at the half after 45, are these the changes you wanted to see from the U.S.?
Honestly, I wish she would have held off a little bit. I do appreciate Jaden Shaw a ton. I felt like she came in a little bit flat today. I don't think that anybody really came in and gave an extra boost of energy anywhere. I think in terms of late subs, I think probably Tierna was the most impactful. I don't think that the US ever really recovered from, I don't know, having to run and chase and defend the entire match. I think that aside from preseason woes and maybe a little bit of tired legs, they weren't able to, get over the hump of having this physicality from this Japan side who just were not letting up.
50th minute, Japan said, yeah, we're here to stay. We're here to win the SheBelieves Cup set piece opportunity. And it's Koga off the bench, ultimately scoring this goal for Japan. It was a set piece about 20 yards out. Jane Campbell makes the initial save. She gets her hands to it, parries it wide, but it's the follow up, it's the rebound. Player was wide open, even on the replay when the camera angle showed from the goalpost, you could see Koga wide open. And the whole rebound was unmarked, and she just easily taps it in. Is that like defensive fault, D? Is that Jane Campbell should have jumped up for the second rebound? I mean, where did this break down for the U.S.?
The foul shouldn't have happened. This is
Oh, bring it
also
all the way
younger.
back to that.
Bring
I
it back.
like it.
Bring it back, guys. Forwards are clumsy. We a little tenacious in a way that doesn't make sense when you're running towards your own goal, top of the 18. Mind you, you're also playing freaking Japan. You cannot give up set pieces around the 18. It's going to be dangerous. And Yasmin Ryan brings a player down, ends up being a foul right outside of the 18. And I was talking to my friend, we were both watching, and I was like, I think this is going to be a goal. I have a feeling it's just the organization isn't there in the U.S. tonight, the sharpness to maybe not follow the shot. Jane Campbell have made a great save. That was a fantastic save. She did what she could have done. I mean, what can you ask from a keeper throwing their body on the line? Like, I would never be a goalkeeper. They have a certain type of crazy that I love, but I would never want to be, because you're jumping in the air, your body's hitting the ground, and no one is tracking. Not a single U.S. player tracked. That's why I was saying the outside back conversation, sure, we can have it, but I don't even think it mattered this game, because Japan, quite frankly, gave the US a taste of their own medicine. They just were sharp on set pieces, on throw-ins, on corner kicks, on rebounds, on every single thing. They thought optimistically and pounced on the US, having kind of a lag of a reaction to everything besides getting the goal back. And the tenacity that they had, I like that reaction. But in the moments where it really, really counts, where it's dangerous and going to cost you a goal, Japan just had the leg up.
D, you're giving so much love there to Japan. If you're Emma Hayes, what's the one thing you're like, okay, this is what my focus is right now for my team to get better at?
The energy that Japan brought, that is something you can control. Sure, Japan's going to be better on the ball. It's funny. I was reminiscing with my friend when I played at UCLA. We went and played in Japan for 2 weeks and played against all of their best pro teams. I've never been more humbled in my life. That the power that they put on passes, how clean everything is, body positioning specific to each foot, the texture. If it's off, you repeat, you do it again. Watching them play today against the US, you saw how different it was, how much cleaner, how much more pride there was in the basics of just playing, just building out of the back even. So if I'm Emma Hayes and I'm the team, I'm glad we had that game. How humbling. Great. Let's take a page out of their book, and that's how we need to play with our own principles. Because I think maybe there was just too many ideas floating around, and I don't think anybody was fully confident in their connections and chemistry, let alone executing the game plan that Hayes wanted them to. But I would take this over winning the tournament right now, because you're going to see so much more growth from this game. Like, I'm honored to lose to a Japan team that came out and played that well.
Yeah, it's hard to feel hard done by losing a game against a team that was so that we can sit here and say we're better than the United States on this day. But there's 2 goals in this game that they're gonna have as part of their video packages to look at. And they're gonna see that lapse. They're gonna see that ball watching. They're gonna see that mental lapse. And in a game where Japan was just bringing it and bringing it and bringing it, you're gonna have to. It's like chess. Sometimes you're gonna have to maneuver some things. If they're beating you, in a speedy type of way, or if they're beating you on the ball tactically, you cannot allow yourself to also concede a bit of the mental game to them as well. And so seeing that part in particular on this second goal, just the lapse that occurred here, the lack of coverage, just not being able to recognize that opportunity to try to maybe get the clearance, just it was disappointing. I think they're going to see that obviously on the tape back, but sometimes in certain stretches of the games, maybe it's more mental adjustment that you have to take, maybe it's more physical or tactical adjustment that you have to make. And in these 2 goals, you see a little bit of that mental lapse. And so I think you applaud your team for having the response. We saw that in the equalizer. They conceded. They said, "Whoa, we needed to make that mental adjustment." They do it. They get that equalizer, but then to have a goal kind of come this way, the game winner ultimately, it's disappointing.
It could be technical, tactical, mental. Yeah, there's a lot of factors. You think it's mental, D?
Yeah, that game's exhausting. That game was exhausting to watch. I mean, watching Emily Sonnett look up and trying to direct players of where she wants to play to, but there's no space. You just have a bunch of Japanese shirts literally swarming any
Mhm.
pass that you make and plugging pockets. I think to me, that's what wore on the team more than anything. Yes, they have tired legs. Yes, a lot of players are in preseason. Some are coming from middle of the season, huge game champions, like whatever. But if mentally you can't do the simple things and just get into the right pockets and make a simple bounce pass, turn, play out of pressure, that is heavy. That's heavy on your chest. It's heavy on your mind where you're going to start doubting. You're going to start not feeling confident. And as soon as you let a team see that, which we saw it in the opening minutes, it's tough to
Quick,
overcome. I think you feel like you're at the 60th minute when you're at the 30th in those
Yeah.
moments.
quick in the
Yeah.
first half, quick in the second half.
Oh,
Oof.
yeah. I mean, 90 seconds in, Japan was like out to lunch. They were like,
My
"Let's
God.
go. We are gonna eat you alive, and your family too." Emily Sonnet is a player
We
that
hungry. Oh,
starving. Emily Sonnet is a player that has really worked her way back into this US camp because she's such a versatile player. Even last summer at the Olympics, whether she's playing in the six, playing as a center back, she is consistent, she's gritty, she's hard-nosed. And there were moments during this match against Japan where Emily Sonnet was making big mistakes. And a lot of players were. There was a lot of chaos happening and unforced errors, but her in particularly looked like her hair was on fire, trying to control, trying to manage a player getting just their third cap and Tara McKeown next to them, trying to manage the constant numbers of Japanese players around her and trying to find outlets when there are none, when trying to be an outlet for Jane Campbell and behind her. Emily Sonnet to me is gonna have a tough night. She's gonna be exhausted when she gets her head on a pillow, but it was chaos. She's one of the players that Emma Hayes did not take out. We did see more subs throughout the second 45. Lynn Bandolo came in, Alyssa Thompson, and Corbin Albert, as well as Tierna Davidson, taking out Katerina Macario, Yasmin Ryan, Lily Yohannes, and Tara McKeown. Now, Lily Yohannes is a player that first game in particular, we were all talking about how well she did. She was finding the ball, switching the play. Christine, we didn't see her that much in this game. She played about 57 minutes and she was quiet.
Yeah, I think that that was a symptom of what this game was like. I think that getting hit that early on in this match with the Japan that was going to be unrelenting. We talked about this last match that like they weren't going to sit back on the US. They're not afraid anymore. Was a little bit more of a challenge for her. I think this was a good challenge though. I think there was like maybe 1 or 2 balls that you saw her just kind of get closed in on, like 3 Japan players circling her where she got dispossessed. And that's, I think, a reasonable expectation when you really just can't come up for air. But I think that that was a symptom of a lot of the players. They just couldn't get over that hump and they just kept getting buried. So they're trying to gasp for air and the waves keep crashing. Japan had a hell of a strategy. I think that for a kid, like, she hung in pretty tightly, but did she have a relatively quiet match? Absolutely.
She still looks
I
calm though.
Mhm.
Yeah.
she
It's
is
like
so suave.
Yeah,
She's
I thought she had
so
some good
suave.
moments.
Like she
good
looks
word for it, Dee.
unfazed. Yeah,
Yeah.
she looks unfazed with everything. What I was bummed about, I have in my notes at halftime. I was like, please bring in Alyssa Thompson and Lynn Biondolo. This game is calling for Lily Yohannes to put balls on a dime over the top to Yasmin Ryan, Lynn Biondolo, and Alyssa Thompson. Make Japan have to respect the pace that you have to turn them around. Then it's going to drop everybody. Then it's going to give players like Sam Coffey, like Lily Yohannes, Tara McKeown, who needed some space from pressure and being able to just make some simple passes, and actually let the U.S. build out. I was dying to see that, and I was really, really bummed that Lily Yohannes kind of went out at the same time when all of those players came in. But
Yeah.
it was
But
just
we
not.
didn't even see that when Biondolo and Alyssa Thompson came in, the US wasn't sending them.
No, they weren't. It was weird. That's why I think everything was caught between two minds, but that's what I was really hoping to see in the second half because I think the game was screaming for that against
Yeah.
Japan, who was suffocating any pass that went into the middle of the pitch.
I would
It
have
took
loved to have
until
seen the opportunity for Johannes to get a mix in with some of the subs, honestly, because part of that response in the first half to try to make that adjustment actually came from Johannes. We saw her trying to make forward passes. She was kind of popping those dingers over. It was actually quite American of her to just try to serve that over the top. And it's funny because she's getting developed in Europe and I really appreciated the fact that she took a moment to recognize, well, what if we just played a bit of soccer tennis here and tried to aerial duel our way into the final third. I respected it. I loved to see it. I loved to see that adjustment from such a young player. But there was just, again, this is giving credit to Japan where they also made the adjustment, where we saw them swarming. There were 2 or 3 players around any one of the United States midfielders at one point. And I don't know what the answer was supposed to be in that throughout stretches of the game to that from a Hayes. Maybe it was making a number of substitutions that ultimately didn't pan out. It certainly wasn't Corbin Albert. I think we got to see all of these midfielders at one point. And I still think even now in this final game, we're exiting this tournament where we're going to talk about very specific midfielders and they're going to be Yohannes and Hutton coming out of this camp. So I think I'm with Darian. I think it's a mixed bag of all those things.
when Davidson did come in the 68th minute, she is the center back that was like, hello, ladies, corner flag, let's go. Send it in behind. It took forever to get there, though.
I mean, she almost scored. She almost scored a goal. It's like, put her up top. What are we doing? She was the most effective sub. She brought so much calmness to the back line. She was able to play those penetrating passes. I wish we saw her sooner, or maybe her paired with McKeown, because I think the level that she brought didn't add chaos. It actually brought a lot of comfort to everybody. I feel like everyone took a deep breath, even watching it when she came on. It felt like something wasn't going to go wrong because she was there. And then, she almost scored. She was up in the attack. So she was the most effective sub for me.
Davidson, when she came on and almost scored that goal, I think it was like 88th minute. Somewhere in my notes, I have it. I love that, right? Center back scoring goals all day. I'm here for it. But it was a combination play that led to this buildup. And Lynn Biondolo had a chance to score, and she had a couple other chances 5 minutes before. And I love a layoff to a center back to strike it. But I want a U.S. forward, when you are down 2 goals in order to win the tournament, to be ruthless in the box in those moments, to get the ball, to spin the defender, and to shoot. I wanted Lynn to take this game and be control and be an impact in that moment. So I like that Davidson had a chance, but I would have rather Lynn be, this is my game, this is my goal, this is my ball inside the box to score this, not lay it off to be
It's
on the
pretty
10
bleak at that. It's pretty bleak at that moment if your highest hope is your center back to score 2 goals. That's a tough night. That's a tough way to end your night.
It is
It's
tough.
tough.
It's tough.
Lynn also had one that was served from RIP 2023 Gotham connection, but Jenna Neiswanger served one in deep on the left side
Beautiful.
over to Lynn Biondolo in the center of the park. And do you guys remember 2016 NWSL final against Washington Spirit when
Yes.
Lynn played for the New York Flash and Sam Mewis served a ball like that and Lynn ended up scoring it? I think put the game into double overtime. New York Flash ended up winning it. Anyways, I was really hoping that Lynn was gonna score that, because she is so clutch in those moments. And Lisa, I understand what you're saying. I think, as a forward and how effective she is in front of goal to just go do it and rip it.
Just go yourself. Wow, you are really keeping on to old school NWSL facts in your brain there.
Guys, that is rare that
Imagine what
happens.
you could make room for.
1:30 a.m.
It took me back. I saw into
Love
the
it.
future or saw into the past. It was crazy, but
all right, guys. US, they lose. They fall 2-1 to Japan.